Welcome to Winging It and Winning, a podcast show where you will be motivated and encouraged to follow your dreams. Hi, you guys. It's me, your host, Veronica Diaz. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today, I'm interviewing Hector Sosa, a financial services professional with New York Life. He has been in the industry for 5 years, and today he's going to share a little bit about how he got into the financial services industry and share some tips with us today on how to secure a financially independent future. Please help me welcome Mr. Hector Sosa. Thank you for being here today, Hector.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you so
much. My pleasure.
much.
I've been looking forward to this.
Oh, well, that's good. I'm glad. We've been talking about it for a couple weeks now, so I'm happy that we're finally doing it.
Absolutely.
So please tell me a little bit about, well, first of all, I want to say the reason why I wanted to have you on today is because I really appreciated you, number one, coming over to my house and educating my stepdaughter who's going off to college. And I really wanted to provide her with some education on how she could be financially responsible while she's off at college. When I started college, I was bombarded with, applications for credit cards, and I was so overwhelmed, but I took a class in the summer before I entered college about financial intelligence and like basic life skills. And they taught us like the importance of not signing up for every credit card that you get offered and paying your bills on time. Like that class taught me a lot of basic life skills. And so my stepdaughter didn't take that class. And so I really wanted to just give her that piece of information because I think it really impacted me, and it saved me from a lot of debt and a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety and probably even depression. And so I really wanted to educate her. So thank you so much for coming to my house and educating the girls that were here to get that information, because I feel like it's so important for the youth to have that common knowledge so that way they can have a better financial future. So thank you.
You're very welcome. It was my pleasure. And, I think it's very important that our youth, especially our graduating seniors going on to college, could use some financial knowledge. I'd love to see some type of financial, just financial basics 101 in high schools. I think it's very important. Start at the junior level, and I think it's really important for kids to understand, just basics. Nothing to overwhelm them, because they're concerned about going to college and thinking about a career, and there's certain things that would be very helpful if they had knowledge on what to look for and what to start taking advantage of.
Yes. So I wanted to just say that. Thank you so much. And I agree with you. We need to get into the schools, and they need to learn the basics in junior high and high school. And then another reason why I wanted to bring you on is because me, like growing up, we lived like paycheck to paycheck. My mom was on welfare. We received food stamps. Like we really did not have a lot of money growing up. And now that I'm older and I have, a job and I'm secure in that way where I feel like I'm more careful with my money because of my upbringing. And now that I'm starting to plan for the future, like retirement and trying to invest, that way I can secure my financial stability. So that way I don't encounter, especially with what happened with the pandemic, that was scary for a lot of people. And I would never want to be in a situation where I'm where I'm struggling like I did when I was younger. And so I really want to just bring you on to help educate myself and others too on what we can do today to help us secure a better future financially.
Right. And I think, I'm glad you brought up the pandemic. The pandemic was a perfect example of we never know what life's going to throw at us. And, we certainly can't predict the future. No one can. But we can help prepare. We can help ourselves and our family by preparing for the future and planning.
Yes, exactly. So that's all I want to do with this podcast is just educate people who have misconceptions about what something may look like. Like a lot of people think, or I know I thought growing up, like I had to have certain amount of money in the bank before I can even invest, or I had to, like, life insurance wasn't for me. Like I wasn't rich. I always thought for some reason only rich people have life insurance. That's an extra necessity. That's extra. You don't, if you can't, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, like you should not have life insurance because your money needs to go to your bills and you need to save. So anyways, just little misconceptions like that that are just can be so detrimental. And so that's what I want to talk about today, okay? But before we
Okay.
get into the details, can you share a little bit about yourself and how did you get into the financial services career? How did you start doing what you're doing today?
Right. Now, that's a great question to start off with, and I appreciate that. And thank you for sharing a little bit about your own personal history and how you became a little bit more financially aware. Um, and that's life. We learn through just going through life, either by the mistakes we've made or just by watching some of our peers or our parents or anyone in our family, and we just kind of we learn. We
Mhm.
learn as we go along. And for me, I grew up in a southeast part of LA in a middle class family. Both my parents ran successful businesses at one point or another. I had three siblings, two brothers and a sister, and our parents always stressed that it was really important to study. And my dad was a big advocate of saving money.
Mhm.
Okay, and he would always, even at a young age, we were always told, it's really important to save money. You need to have a few months of expenses saved up. And we were kids when my dad was, you know, really emphasizing this point. But eventually I grew to know or understand that
Mhm.
it's important to have an emergency fund. It's
Mhm.
basic. And you brought up the pandemic last year. Perfect example. A lot of people were caught by surprise, and if you're living paycheck to paycheck, or you're depending on a job, and all of a sudden, out of their control, if they have to make cuts or if they have to adjust, at the end of the day, they have to be profitable,
Mhm.
and you end up losing your job or um, being laid off for a specific amount of time, or just time in general.
Mhm.
Then your resources are limited if you don't have anything, if you're not prepared for something like that.
Yes.
So it's really important. So for me, growing up in a middle class family, seeing that, my parents they had their successes and they had their challenges with respect to their businesses and some of the uh, uh, business ventures they got into. So we saw a lot of that growing up, and I was always intrigued by numbers. In my family, we were pretty. You know, my dad would always tell us, like, hey, math is like the most important subject when you're in school. So you need to make sure you understand numbers. You need to understand that you understand mathematics, and it's going to help you in life. And we understand why he emphasized that. So I've always been intrigued by the stock market, even at a young age, and I didn't understand it. I saw movies and I understood that you can make a lot of money in the stock market over time. And but again, I understood it was there, but I really didn't understand the concepts.
Mhm.
So I've always been attracted to numbers. I know, looking back, I thank my father to this day for really emphasizing how important math was, how important saving was,
Mhm.
saving for the future. And I was able to take that advice and just kind of segue into what I do today. So you mentioned I've been a financial services professional for the last 5 years. I'm a registered rep. I have my securities licenses, and right now I'm with New York Life, a great company. Prior to this, I did accounting for several years for a couple of small businesses. So I understood the importance of having a balance sheet, even for personal reasons, and also a profit and loss statement. You don't have to have a business to run a profit and loss statement, but it's good to have that, especially in a personal household. So to know where your money's at, and what your money's doing over a period of time. So,
What did you
like I
say?
said,
Personal law statement?
just a profit and loss statement, an income statement,
Mm-hmm.
to see what your revenues, your money that you're bringing in, your personal outflows. You can tell if you run a personal P&L statement, which is a profit and loss statement. You can tell if you're spending too much food or too much money on food or or entertainment at the end of the month. You don't have your money working for you.
I've never
So
heard of anyone having one of those, to be honest. Like I
yeah,
have my own I have in my notes like what I spend, what I like my budget, but I don't have a place in my home where I'm like, okay, this is the profit and loss statement. Like,
right.
it's
It's in other words, an income statement. And there's a lot of good software programs out there right now that help you. Personal finance
mhm.
software programs that really help people get started there. And it's just one of those things where you have to be honest with yourself, and so you can get a clear picture on what you're doing with your money, how much you're bringing in, how much you're taking out. And at the end of the day, if you're spending more, if you have more outflow, which is spending more than you're bringing in, then it might be wise to make some adjustments. You know,
Yeah, and
uh,
a lot of people wouldn't know that they're spending really if they're not, or they wouldn't know exactly how much they're spending more than what they make if they don't have it written down like on concrete. Sometimes they just assume like we have money in the bank, it works, it's fine, let's go, let's get it, or let's spend that extra money. And
yeah,
then not until, later down the line, everything catches up.
yeah, and it's good practical, a good practical habit for especially younger people, just to start that off, even if they're working part time. It's good to start going off on a budget, and they develop good habits, good financially sound habits by doing that, and then they can be pretty much become responsible stewards, financial stewards. They understand, okay, well, this is how much I'm bringing. Okay, I need a budget. So
Mhm.
maybe I need to start learning how to cook or something, because it's really easy to go out and spend a lot of money at restaurants, and uh, young people may think that they don't have enough time to make a meal at home, or sit down and write a financial plan, just a basic plan. Uh, but they'd be wise to do that. So going back, like as I mentioned, I have an accounting background. I did study. I graduated with a business degree with an emphasis in finance and
Mhm.
economics. So I've always been intrigued by the stock market, and I can think back to my 10th grade year in high school. In my economics course, the teacher I had at that time went through a lot of simulations with us as 10th graders, and we used monopoly money to portray that we had some type of investment in the stock market. That
Mhm.
made a huge impact on me. Not only did I have the advice from my father, and I can just hear him today. You got to save, mijo. You got to save, and you never know what's going to happen. And I put that together with this economics course that I had in the 10th grade in high school, and it just really hit home.
Mhm.
I think that was the point where I said, you know what? I believe that I want to do this for a living. I want to get into the financial services industry, because not only can I help myself and my family, but I can help others. And
Mhm.
all it is just having a conversation with people and sharing the knowledge.
Right, right. And that's, oh, then it's so cheesy, but it's true. Like knowledge really is power. You know,
Absolutely.
knowledge is power. And it's like, it's so cheesy, but it's completely true. I mean, with everything, right? If we walk with our finances blindly and just spend because the bank says we have money. And I've done it. I mean, don't get me wrong. When I was in college, I would go negative all the time. because I would just look at my balance. I'm like, oh yeah, it says I have $200, but I didn't take into account the bill that I already paid, that I just
Right.
processing. And so I would just spend, like, just not even paying attention to how much I'm spending. And I lost hundreds and hundreds of dollars in negative fees
Yeah.
and fees, you know? And so, I mean, I'm not saying, like, this is why these conversations are so important. It's just to share knowledge, because knowledge is definitely power. And once you know what you have and how to make the most of that, it's going to be better for your future.
Right. And I think, um, just being open-minded, and again, I'm a big advocate of communication. And if I sit in front of somebody who's looking to get started, or who's starting a family and you don't know where to start, it doesn't have to be complicated. For me in my position, I love what I do, and I love sitting in front of somebody, finding out what their goals are, what they're trying to accomplish, and then sharing some knowledge and offering some advice and some tips on how they can get there. It's it's not something that typically happens overnight, but you develop a plan, and you got to you stick to it. And life changes happen, needs change as you grow, and you get into building a bigger family. And you have to be able to start off with a plan and make adjustments on the way that allow you to get to to the end of the road, that big picture goal that you have in mind.
Yeah, and every goal, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but do you think every goal is different for every person depending on their family size or their specific needs? Do you encounter?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no one size fits all. There shouldn't be.
Mhm.
um, I know we were going to discuss what people should look out for, or how they should get started. But I can tell you right now, it's really important to understand there is no one size fits all. Everybody's needs are different. Everybody's goals are different.
Right. And so when that's a good segue. And when do people know, okay, this is the good time to start planning now for a better future? Like, when is that aha moment? Like, when do you see people, like, when do you think people should start planning for a better future? Or like, just to start planning for just to start planning for their future, saving wise, financially wise.
Right. I don't think, that's a great question. And I'll answer that a couple ways. Um, I don't think there is like an exact moment that you say, okay, I need to start doing this. And there's a misconception out there. And a lot of people, many people understand that they do have to have a plan. Okay. Um, but some people make the mistake of thinking that, what, I'm waiting for the perfect time to start investing or start planning. Well, I have news for you on that. There is no perfect time. A lot of people are waiting for that job or that promotion, or they're planning for a house, to save for a house. Let's just wait. Let's just get the house. Let's realize our dream, get the house, then we can start planning then. Or let's just have let's have that our first child, and then we can start planning then, because our needs going to change.
Mhm.
If you take that approach, you know what, that that time that you start planning, that perfect time you're waiting for, may never come. And in the meantime, you're losing out on potential wealth accumulation towards your ultimate financial goals.
Mhm.
So, um, with respect to a good time to start, like I said, there is no perfect time to start. A good time to start is today, and at least having that conversation. If you don't know where you're at, there's a lot of information on the internet. You see a lot of people making a lot of money off crypto or these meme stocks,
Mhm.
and people wonder, hey, especially if they haven't really had much exposure to financial planning, hey, maybe I need to get into something like this and hope I hit it big. Uh, the best thing to do is just to sit down with a financial services professional like myself, or a financial advisor. Sit down, have a conversation. But before you do that, know what your goals are, know what you're trying to accomplish, and sit down with someone like myself who can help maybe craft a plan that you can at least start off with.
Like a roadmap, like a,
That's correct.
like a blueprint. You don't know how to get from destination A to B without directions. So basically, the first step is to find a financial advisor or someone in the financial services department that can help you plan and, sorry, my table's shaking, help you plan and, get you directions on how to get from where you're at to where you want to be, right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
you said there's so much information. Oh my gosh, sorry. There's so much information on the internet, and that is true. And it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming for me. Like, you don't know what's credible, what's not credible, what to believe, what not to believe, who to go with, there's just it's so overwhelming. What are some tips, or what can people look out for when looking for somebody who can help them start saving and start planning out their future? How can people find someone credible? What are some tricks and tips you can give us?
Right. Okay. Well, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. I would say before um, they start to look for a financial services professional or financial advisor type, um, get in the habit as early as possible to start building a savings, an emergency fund, at least. So you want to be able to cover yourself at least with 3 to 6 months of uh, expenses. Some people will go up to 12 months. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying that you should build that first and then start talking to somebody. The point in bringing that up is start getting the habit of saving money. If you have a job, you definitely want to take advantage of any retirement plans offered. Get it started, especially while you're young. Your overhead is low. You don't really have a whole lot of expenses. You may think you do, but take advantage of that and start saving money as soon as you start working. Okay, get in the habit of doing that. And, just adding on onto that thought, you want to get used to just systematically spending less than you earn. Start that, roll with that idea as soon as possible when you start working. Now, as far as seeking out advice or looking for a financial advisor, a financial services professional like myself, ask around, ask your family, um, ask them if they're dealing with anybody that's trustworthy, and see, if you're able to come across somebody who, someone you trust, or someone within your circle that's had some genuine success with, or just a genuinely good rapport with, may want to start there. Say, hey, just ask one of your family members or one of your friends, hey, if do you know of anybody who is in the financial services industry that can maybe I can have a conversation with? There's no commitment at that point. Um, and also figure out what company um, they represent or who they're working for. It's important to deal with a company of a great or good reputation, financially sound company. And again, when you meet with somebody, just to have that conversation, you should have an idea what your goals are, what you're trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And you're basically you're testing whoever you're sitting in front of once you set up a meeting, or once you're able to talk to somebody in the industry. You're getting a feel for them.
Mm-hmm.
And if they ask you about your goals, if they ask you questions that are relevant to your planning, and they provide some tips or offer some solutions to at least get you started, then that's at least that's a real good start. Okay. One thing I would caution, especially younger people starting out, to look out for, if they have someone sitting across from them offering financial advice,
Mm-hmm.
if they're offering advice to make quick money overnight, I would end the meeting immediately because that it's not the way it's supposed to be. If anybody's guaranteeing certain returns in the stock market or investments, um, I'd find someone else to talk to.
Okay.
So those are potential things to look out for. But in our industry, we're in a highly regulated industry, which is good. It's a real good thing for us and for the consumer, because you want to make sure that you know you can also do your research on the person you're sitting in front of as well. There's a website called brokercheck.com where you can basically punch in their information and see if they've had any issues. Um, but you also have to feel comfortable. You know, uh, you just want to make sure that the person sitting across from you, if you do business with them,
Mm-hmm.
is looking out for your best interests, which is what we're supposed to do in this industry.
Right. No, that's good advice. That's good because when you said like someone who is gonna, promise you quick money or something that's just like, I think the rule should be if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Right.
Right. So especially with our generation and with the younger kids, they it's really like instant gratification. I want
Right.
what I want it now. Like we, even on our phones, I mean, it's funny because I talk about certain things, then I look at my phone and I had advertisements about those things I was talking about. And all I have to do is press it, it takes me to the link. All I need to do is put my credit card that's already in my phone, just like autofill, and it does everything so fast. And so I
Right.
think it's very easy for people to get tricked because they hear like, oh, you'll make this much this quickly and you won't have to wait, a long time. It's like, okay, I'm sold. Here's my money. Like, let's make it happen. So I think that's good for the kids who are going into college and who are just, that they're naive and they just don't know. So it's very important.
Right. And it's important for them to read to understand that, especially kids just getting started, or young adults just getting started. They're off to college or whatever, a trade school, and they're starting to plan their future. They might still be living at home, so their overhead is low, their expenses are low. So great time for them to really get started. And um, the, the focus should be on what they're studying, the industry that they want to get in, and avoid the get rich quick schemes, or a lot of the kids, they spend a lot of time on their phones, or young adults spend a lot of time on their phones, and there's a lot of information out there, um, where they could potentially make a lot of money overnight through certain investments. We've seen that especially over the past year during the pandemic, um, with with crypto, with the cryptocurrencies and some of the meme stocks that have taken off. Um, but they should understand that they just have to have their goals in mind. They have to be able to start getting in the habit of saving, systematically spending less than what they earn, and trying to avoid as much consumer debt as possible. Okay. And also going back to when they do sit in front of somebody in the industry, uh, that the person sitting in front of them is asking them questions that are relevant to what they're trying to accomplish. It's
Mhm.
just like going to the doctor's office. If you go to a doctor's office and the doctor just takes a look at you and says, "Well, let me prescribe this medicine. Call me in a couple of weeks. Let me know how you're doing." Nothing was really accomplished there. The doctors, they're professionals. They're trained to ask questions, to basically try to help break down what's wrong with you, to troubleshoot basically what's going on with you.
Mhm.
And with respect to the financial services professional or financial advisor, it's their job to really understand the consumer, understand the consumer's goals, which is key. That's where it should all start. What are the goals? And what are you doing so far to get there? Nothing. Okay, well, Let's find out what you're trying to accomplish. It could
Mhm.
be it could be a mix of short-term goals and long-term goals, or they just have this big picture in mind. Okay, this is where I want to be. Okay, that's a great start. Now, how are we going to get there? Let's look at your situation right now.
Mhm.
So communication and information is key at that point.
Yeah, good. Thank you for that. And then I want to get into a little bit of, okay, we're talking about planning and securing an independent future and putting money away. So let's just give a brief, if you can just give me a brief description of what exactly, how can we plan for a better future. So I always thought like putting money in the bank, that's the best way to go, saving money in my savings with my bank. I leave it in there. That's the money I don't touch. It just stays there. But there's other ways we can secure a financially independent future. And that's more what we're talking about is investing your money into certain accounts to help, increase the amount of money you invest in those accounts. So we can talk about, just naming them and giving a little bit of a description of those few accounts that we're discussing. That would be helpful for me and also for the listeners. That way,
Right,
exactly what it is that we're talking about when we're saying planning for the future.
right. Well, to start off with, as far as saving money and putting it into the bank, like I said, it's really important to have, the advantages of having money in the bank is uh, the main thing is liquidity. You have access to your funds. Okay. Like I said, you want to be able to make sure over time that you save at least 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses in the bank. Then have a little bit more, if you have a certain goal in mind or something you want to, something you have in mind to spend on over the next, you know, 12 to 18 months or so. It's good to have, money liquid in the bank. It's safe. Okay. But as far as getting started, is if I'm sitting in front of somebody, the first thing I want to ask about is, what their goals are, what they're trying to accomplish. Depending on where they're at in their career, because like I said, there's no one size that fits all.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on where they're at as far as getting started, or if they're in the middle of their career, obviously their needs are going to be different. So we want to find out about their goals, and the second thing is we want to find out about uh, the time before they have uh, before they want to realize these goals. Well, we like to say the time horizon, and then basically what that is how much time do you have to invest? How much time do you have before you want to reach your goals? And it can be different goals. So someone, uh, once we establish that, once we get that information, I'll ask them if their employer offers a retirement plan. Uh, and well, in the state of California, by next year, by June 2022, any employer with at least 5 employees has to have a retirement plan set up for the company. Okay, and that's a rule. That's going to come down. So the odds are with that that most employers will have some type of retirement plan set up. So that's something I'll ask. Are you taking advantage of a retirement plan at your job? Okay. If you're not, okay, why not? You should be, especially if they offer a match. You want to be able to um, contribute to as much as whatever the minimum match percentage is. Okay. And aside from that, um, what are you trying to accomplish? And we'll look at from there, we'll break down any short term or long term goals. And there's a variety of ways you can do that. If you're contributing to a employer sponsored plan, and let's say, for example, without getting too much into the weeds, if you're investing in with pre-tax dollars, it lowers your current tax burden, which is beneficial. You can also look at a Roth IRA, which has some tax benefits. It can grow tax deferred over time. Actually, the distributions over time will be tax free once you retire, as long as you're at least 59 and a half. Okay, and if I'm sitting in front of somebody and they're participating in the 401k or 403b or what have you, and they're not doing anything else, um, depending on what their goals are, I would recommend, looking at another vehicle to complement what they're doing at work, such as a Roth IRA. And, there's also, with respect to shorter term goals, people can also look at mutual funds as well.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a variety of mutual funds depending on the risk tolerance. Risk tolerance is very important because not every investor has the same tolerance with respect to investing their dollars.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're, if you have somebody that's ideally really conservative with their money, but they do want to accumulate wealth over time, they understand that they need to um, have their money grow, have their money work for them, so they can at least keep up with inflation, and make sure that their purchasing power of their dollars stay relevant. They want to be able to have something invested. So if there's a more conservative investor, there are conservative choices out there with respect to investing, whether it's through mutual funds or Roth IRA or any of their retirement plans. So, um, and again, everybody has different goals. So the first thing they want to do is think about their goals. Okay. Second thing is prioritize their goals. The third thing is where someone like myself can come into play, is develop a plan and take action.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge part of this, because a lot of people understand that they have to have a plan. They'll say, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, or I'm going to wait for the perfect time. But if you never take action, nothing happens.
But
If
it's
you
so
have,
scary. It is so scary for so many people to take that action step,
right,
right?
yeah, and people understand, like, oh, wait a minute, and people understand that they have to have a plan. Most people in general. But the biggest part of that, okay, let's talk about our goals. Let's prioritize them. Okay, let's develop a roadmap. Let's develop a plan. Now we got to take action. It's like, what? No, that's how this starts. We
Mm-hmm.
can talk about this all day, but if we don't take action, nothing happens. And if no action is taken, guess what? Time passes up, and as time goes by, then you lose opportunities to build wealth, to realize whatever your goals are. So that's a huge part of that. The next step would be to, when dealing with a financial advisor or financial services professional, is to meet on an annual basis at least.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because uh, life changes come up, you know, for people. If they end up taking on, more responsibility, they start building a family, needs change on an annual basis. So it's really important to stay in touch with whoever is helping you with your overall retirement goals or wealth accumulation goals, and meet, not just meet to show you what your investments are doing,
Mm-hmm.
but meet to understand where you're at right now. And what I'd like to do with my clients is, at New York Life, they really emphasize taking, you know, um, detailed notes. What I'd like to do is, when I meet with my clients on an annual basis, is review those notes. Hey, last year or 3 years ago, these were the goals.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? Now you have another child. Now you're looking at a second home, or now you're looking at, you know, purchasing an RV so you can travel across the country. We need to revisit your goals and how you're going to get there, how you're going to get there to realize your goals. So it's important to have that relationship where you're like, okay, let me see what my needs are right now, and also, um, the the retirement picture. There's a lot of pieces to that puzzle. Okay, there's whatever employer sponsored plan they have, like a 401k or a 403b.
Mm-hmm.
There's also investing for some after-tax, some tax-free distributions. There's also making sure you have protection, which is life insurance,
Mhm.
because you can build, especially if you start building a family, you can build the best financial plan possible, but God forbid someone were to pass away prior to realizing their goals. If you don't have life insurance, proper life insurance in place, then that can really impact the family that's left behind.
Go.
Yes, yes, life insurance is very important because um, just like the homes that you and I are sitting in respectively, these homes are uh, they're up and they keep us secure and safe because they have a proper foundation. Without
Mhm.
a proper foundation, these homes wouldn't be able to stand still or or be stable. So same thing with a financial plan. Life insurance, especially as you start um, building a family, life insurance does not have to be complicated. There are some strategies that can, there's a couple different ways to. I'm not going to get into that too deeply, but there's a couple different ways you can approach life insurance. You want to make sure you have enough protection. If God forbid something were to happen to you earlier than planned, or I don't know if anybody would plan that, but you want to make sure you have enough coverage to take care of your family.
Right.
Okay.
And
And it,
let me just share us. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, it doesn't have to be complicated, like I said. And there's also ways that life insurance as a strategy can help complement a retirement portfolio.
Right. So I wanted to share a story with my listeners and viewers as well as yourself. I don't know if I told you, Hector, but my brother, he was 24 years old and he got life insurance when he was 22, and he was young, but his girlfriend's mom at the time had it, and she was talking to the kids about how important it is, and he ended up getting life insurance. And my brother was going through a rough patch where he couldn't pay his bills, and um, he was asking me for help to pay his life insurance because he didn't want to let it go. He didn't want to let it go. And he had a daughter at the age of 23, I believe. He had his daughter, or I think he was 22. Sorry, he had his daughter. And really, at that point, he was like, "Sister, please, if anything happens to me, I want my daughter to be good. I want, just to leave money behind for her." And I was like, "Okay, bro, no worries. I'll help you out." It wasn't even that expensive. It literally was, maybe he was paying like, I want to say $25 to $30 a month for his policy.
Yeah.
He didn't have a lot of assets, so he didn't have a huge policy, but he had enough to leave his daughter some money. And so that was all that mattered to him. And of course, pay his funeral expenses. Well, my brother passed away when he was 24. And so um, his passing really like hit me like a ton of bricks because we didn't expect it. When someone is young, you think like, oh, they still have a long life to live, they're good. But when he passed away, that's what really like woke me up. Like, you need to get life insurance, Veronica. Why don't you have life insurance? And it also felt so good being able to plan his funeral without worrying about, how are we going to cover this? How are we gonna fundraise enough money to plan the funeral that he deserves, or that we want to plan for his farewell? Are we gonna raise enough money to cover the expenses? And so having life insurance for him, while him having his own life insurance, helped us with the grieving process. It helped us be able to plan and to mourn his passing without having to worry about the finances that come along with planning a funeral.
Right.
And so once the dust settled and I got back to my normalcy of everyday life, I started to I sat down with someone. I said, I need life insurance, and I need it now, because we never know what's going to happen tomorrow. And we never know, and another thing is, even if I don't die soon, the thing is, my fear was, what if I get sick? What if I get a terminal illness that's going to prevent me from getting life insurance in the future? Because, life insurance, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you have medical conditions, if you have other things, they can deny you, or your policy can be higher. It can cost more.
That's correct.
And so my thing was like, right now I'm healthy. I I'm healthy. I can do it. There's no reason besides, procrastinating, that I cannot get life insurance. And so I just wanted to share that story, that my brother, we didn't expect him to pass. He didn't expect to pass. But that's one thing we're all promised, is death one day.
Right.
Yet that's the one thing that a lot of people don't get life insurance. And because probably, like I said earlier, I always thought that life insurance was for rich people. I thought like I had to be rich in order to have life insurance, or like it just didn't dawn on me like I can get it. There's no reason for me not to have it.
Right. No, I'm sorry to hear that. And thank you for sharing that, your personal testimony on that. Part of what we do in this industry, and part of what really has always appealed to me in this industry is being there for people when they need help most. And for me, unfortunately, I think I've been to too many funerals in my lifetime, and for various situations. And one thing I've noticed, a common theme at these funerals, is people wonder, did they have life insurance? And you know, it's when you're going through loss and you're grieving, it's really, it could be really having a huge impact on the family. It could be really stressful because the bills don't stop coming.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're talking about fundraising, at least planning the services, if there's limited funds, or you have to go fundraise, or just families do, family and friends come together, and but it's a lot of stress. But if you have life insurance in place, it just makes things easier. So it brings a little bit of peace. Like, okay, we can take care of these expenses. We can take care of any children or families that are left behind, or a family that's left behind, and it makes a big difference. And going back to your comment about, hey, if I, when I was younger, I thought life insurance, so you had to be rich to have life insurance. The way life insurance is designed right now, with term insurance, is relatively inexpensive for the coverage, for the amount of, you can get a pretty significant amount of coverage for a few dollars a month, you know, and and it brings peace of mind. Um, it's the odds are not, live a long life, and the insurance, like term insurance, you can have it for a certain amount of years. The odds are it's not going to come into play, but it's peace of mind having that, knowing that for myself, I know that if God forbid something were to happen to me, I know that my wife and kids would be well taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
And it's peace of mind, because I don't want them to have to struggle. And not only that, not only the grieving process when it's fresh, but depending on your situation, if there is no proper no life insurance, or proper life insurance, or adequate, then the family has to potentially uproot, change their lifestyle, um, and maybe move in with family. And when you're going through a grieving process, it just it's not a good situation to be in. It just adds to the stress.
Right.
You
Right.
so it's important to have that foundation. And life insurance needs are going to vary across the board, depending on where someone's at. For someone younger with no children, no home, a term insurance may not make sense for them. If they're younger, if they're healthy, maybe uh, more suitable to look at a more permanent life insurance type policy, because that can actually help them. It would, if they're healthy, it would lock in insurability for the rest of their life, as long as they keep up the premiums. And there's strategies that can be built around that, a permanent life or whole life insurance policy, that can help them supplement their retirement. And again, as I mentioned before, there's several pieces to the retirement pie or the retirement puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
But for someone who's starting out and they're building a family, uh, you can do a combination of both, or just at least have some type of term insurance in place, while you're planning, because that's the foundation that's going to keep your family afloat if something were to happen to you.
Yes, yeah. And I mean, once I got the life insurance, I just felt so much better. Like,
Yeah,
I don't have biological kids, and my stepkids are very well taken care of. And I think about my mom because she's my baby. Like my mom is the one that, she relies on me for support. And so for my mom, I'm like, what would my mom do if I pass? How can I secure that my mom is going to be okay if I go before her?
right,
So like that was my motivation to make sure that she's covered and she doesn't have to worry about anything because she'll be okay, you know.
right.
And
Yeah,
so
that's the
we
right.
all have
That's
different motivations, whether you have your kids or whether you have a parent that you take care of or whether you have a sibling you watch, whatever it is, we all have different motivations. But I just think the important thing is make sure that if there's people who depend on you, make sure that you secure yourself so that
right,
when you pass, they don't have to worry about that part.
right. And you know what? It's a very important topic, and it's really making sure you have adequate life insurance. It's really out of love, and you're making sure, like, hey, you know what? Um, I don't want to go anywhere anytime soon, but if something were to happen to me, I know my loved ones are going to be taken care of, and especially if you have children. If you look at the environment we're in today, uh, we pay insurance for many things, and it's to me it's mind-boggling where someone would maybe have a $1,000 cell phone, which is pretty much the norm today, and have insurance on that, but not have insurance on their own lives. And for what especially a term life insurance would cost.
Mm-hmm.
We can easily, we talked about this before. We can easily go out to dinner. Like for me, I can go out to dinner with a family of four at a decent restaurant and easily spend over $100. That's one time. If I cut one of those out per month, life insurance shouldn't be any issue for me. Life insurance premium shouldn't be a challenge for me. And the investment goes a long way because I'm making sure my family is going to be secure if something were to happen to me.
Right. Yeah. And I like how you said that it's an act of love. It's a service of love because of course once we're past, right, we get life insurance, we pass, we're not benefiting from that, right? Like
Right,
we're done, we're gone. We no longer need the assets that we're leaving behind and that we're paying for right now to secure the future of our loved ones who stay on this earth. Like
right.
out of love that you've said that, that's like perfect. Like that's so perfect that you said that because that's the whole reason why I did it, to show love. I don't ever want my parents or my mom, my dad, any of my parents to wonder what now. It's an act of love. I love that. I like that you said that. I feel the same way. I feel like, it's out of love and it's so important to, and I tell my brothers, like my older brothers, we need to get on it, bro. Like, come on, like, let's do this because so God forbid something happened to you. What's going to happen to your kids? How are they going to move on? How are they going to be okay? I mean, they depend a lot on your finances. So it's an act of love. I love that.
Yeah, it's key, and I love that too. I just love the whole concept of this being an act of love. It's really looking out for your loved ones,
Mhm.
and what you want to make sure that if something were to happen to you, that they're able to maintain their lifestyle. Because really, if you know, I know and how tight my family is. If something were to happen to me, it'd be devastating. But I wouldn't feel right if I knew that they'd be devastated. On top of that, they'd have to stressed out, financially. I could never fathom my loved ones being in a position like that. So it's the right thing to do. It's the responsible thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And, over time, as far as myself being in this industry, if I, run across somebody or I have friends that I have a conversation with on this topic, and if they have a family, they have children, and they don't have life insurance, or they don't have adequate life insurance, I'm not, not shy about letting them know that they need it. You know, not that I'm sitting there trying to sell them something, but out of love, like, hey, you want to make sure your family's taken care of if something were to happen to you. You know.
Yeah, I have a question. So this dawned on me the other day, and I was trying to tell my brothers, like, hey, let me buy your life insurance and let me pay the premiums on it so you don't have to worry. Because and this sounds crazy, but my whole thinking behind it is if something happens to my brothers, I'm gonna want to obviously like help with the funeral and do all that and like plan everything. You know how expensive things are. So I'm like, let's just get a small premium, a small packet, right? A small insurance, life insurance, and then that way I'll pay it. That way I can use the funds. God forbid something happened to you guys before me. I can use your funds for your funeral and then divvy it up amongst your kids. But for whatever reason, if you don't want to waste the money on it right now, it's kind of like, let me do it for you. Like, let me
Right.
handle that do people do that? Like, is that even a thing? Like, can
It
people?
is a thing, and it's actually more common than you probably think. And that's an act of love in itself. And just to
Well, I see
just
it as a like looking out for myself in that situation, because at the end of the day, I feel like we're gonna have to come up with the money somehow, some way, anyways. So for me, I see it as like being proactive and making sure that, okay, whether or not if they don't have life insurance, I'd feel more comfortable just getting it. That way, I don't have to worry about that burden when it comes later.
yeah, and you know what? I'm glad you brought up that term proactive, because I'm a big believer in being proactive when it comes to planning for your family. Um, first off, with respect to your brothers, if you're planning on or entertaining buying them life insurance policies, just to go back to what you said earlier, um, there's no wasted money in that. It's an investment, and it's protection, it's peace of mind. That's what it is. So with that, even going back to everything we discussed today, being proactive is the way to go. Slow and steady wins the race here. I've mentioned that before. Being proactive is much better than being reactive when it's already too late, because the resources are not there or they're very limited. You
Mm-hmm.
understand?
Mm-hmm.
Being proactive is totally the way to go, and I think you're doing a great service to not only to your brothers but to yourself and your family, because you're looking out for them. It's like, hey, let me take care of this for you, and then whenever they're in a position to just handle the premiums, or you can at least get them started. Um, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. People do it all the time.
Oh, okay. I was just making sure I wasn't going crazy, because I'm telling you, I think when you have experiences, it kind of wakes you up. And like my brother's passing, my brother Freddie, his passing really like scared me, and it made me feel like, thank God he had life insurance. But also it made me feel like, okay, now we need to get everybody who doesn't have life insurance secured like ASAP, insured like ASAP. And so I had this conversation, and they're like, you're crazy. Like, you're not doing that, sister. I'm going to do it. Don't worry. We have the appointment. I just need to sign. Like they're already in the process, but it's like not fast enough. I'm like, come on, like, let me just, if I tell them I'll pay for it, there's no more excuses. But it's not even that. It's not even like, oh, I don't have the money. It's just like, other things come up before they can fill out and finish the process. And it's just like, yeah, I was just wondering if that was a thing or if I was just going crazy. But it made sense to me. Like, if the family is the one that's going to be stuck with all of the mourning and the funeral and all of that, why wouldn't we be proactive, and if we can, buy a premium for our loved ones who we know we would be responsible for?
Yeah, I think you're doing the right thing, and again, I think you're doing it out of love. And you know, the thing is people understand. Like I said, life insurance does not have to be expensive. It does not have to be complicated,
Mm-hmm.
but it really is an act of love. Whether you're buying it for yourself to cover your family, or whether you're buying it for a loved one, to make sure that their loved ones are taken care of. It's an act of love. And if there's, on part of your brothers, if there's hesitation or if there's procrastination, it goes back to what I said earlier. And one of the main steps, probably the main step you have to take in realizing your goals and financial independence is taking action.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Love takes action. You got to have action. You got to just take that step forward and get it done.
Right. Right. Well, you just gave us so much knowledge today. I really, really do appreciate all of the knowledge that you gave us. We talked about, how to plan for the future, when to plan for the future, what can we do today to help us for a better future? You gave us some examples on what kind of accounts we can open up depending on our goals. Is there any other advice you'd like to give myself or my viewers before we end this? Is there any other piece of advice that you want to give to us?
Yeah, and thank you for that. It's been my pleasure. I've really enjoyed this. And, if you'd like to hold any additional podcasts on this topic or any other topics with respect to, if you want to get a little deeper into the financial services industry or some of the tools available, I'd be my pleasure to do that. I love being able to be a resource, provide knowledge, and being present, being able to answer questions. My advice as far as getting started, I really have to emphasize that there really is no perfect time to get started. You have to get started. And the first thing, like I said, a couple of things, and I've mentioned this before, you want to get used to, whether you're just starting out in your career or you've been working for 10 years or 20 years and you just haven't really set a plan. And that's, it happens. Sit down with someone like me, ask your circle for referrals. Like, hey, is anybody dealing with a financial services professional, a financial advisor that, you felt comfortable with, that's giving you sound advice and that's listening to your needs? It's really important. Sit down with somebody like that, somebody like myself, okay? Get used to, or at least start work on a budget, spending less than you earn over time, okay? Also, try to avoid consumer debt as much as possible. If you're in a situation where you've been working for 10, 20 years and you've accumulated debt, credit card debt, come up with a plan to pay that down as soon as possible, okay? The 5 steps, and this is really just a basic general overview with 5 steps to being financially independent, okay? Think about your goals, okay? The second thing is write your goals down, okay? The third thing is develop a plan and take action. Develop a plan and take action. It's really important. That's why I have to repeat that, okay?
Develop a plan and take action. I love
Yes, yes. There's no way around it, And the fourth thing is review your goals and your plan of action at least on an annual basis, okay? Because needs in life changes, or they change over time, okay? If you do that and you follow that process, the 5th step is, well, the end of the rainbow, financial independence, okay? But you have to develop a plan, because you know what? If we keep waiting for that perfect time, if we keep waiting for that perfect job or the perfect spouse or the perfect house, it's never going to happen. You're going to keep kicking the can down the road, and before you know it, you're going to lose out on years of possible wealth accumulation.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned the concept of, one of the things that got me interested in this industry is the compounding, the rule of compounding interest, or just the concept of building off of compounding interest. Over time, you can accumulate wealth. It doesn't have to be overbearing. It doesn't have to be a fancy plan. It doesn't have to, you don't have to sacrifice your paycheck, most of your paycheck every month. Start off with a plan. Okay, for someone younger, they're going to school, they're graduating, they start with an employer. Take advantage of that retirement plan offered at work. Find out what they're matching. Find out what insurances they offer. Take advantage of those. It's really important to have adequate insurance to cover yourself. Okay? Start saving at least 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. Make sure you have that cushion. A lot of people were caught by surprise last year during the pandemic. Perfect example on the importance of what I just talked about, having adequate insurance, adequate health insurance, disability insurance, life insurance, and also having that cushion in the bank. Anything above that, your dollar should be working for you. Okay? Having anything above that in the bank, you're not keeping up with inflation. Realize what your goals are. And I'm going to repeat those 5 steps. Realize what your goals are. Prioritize your goals. Develop a plan and take action. And along your way to financial independence, financial freedom, revisit your goals and your plan to get there on an annual basis, at least. Okay? And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
Sit in front of somebody like myself or in the industry of a good reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Ask all the questions you want because you're planning your future. Because you have to take those steps. It's up to you. It's up to me to make sure that my future is financially independent, financially secure. Because once you get to that point where you're in retirement, there's no do-overs. You have one shot at making it right. So like I said, we have a lot of resources in place, a lot of information out there. It's really up to us to make sure that happens. And like I said, we have to develop discipline over time. I love the concept of slow and steady wins a race.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Develop a plan, stick to it, and take action.
Thank you for that. And I want to reiterate and I want to share with the people out there listening. There are no dumb questions. So I say this because when I started speaking to Hector, I was like, I'm so sorry if this is a dumb question, but I don't know what this means, because he would speak in his lingo. And although I'm 38 and I should know all of this stuff, I'm barely learning myself and learning the importance. So that's why I'm bringing you guys on this journey with me, because if I am now seeing the importance of it, I want to share with you guys that, hey, you don't have to wait any longer. Like, you can start investing in your future now, and it's not as scary as it seems. And so when I was speaking to Hector and asking him these questions, at first I felt dumb, like I should know this, but I didn't let that keep me from not asking him, because that's the only way we're going to learn, and that's the only way we're going to get ahead. And at the end of the day, when you are sitting in front of someone who is in that financial services career or industry, that's what they're there for. So ask the questions that you think you should already know. Ask the questions so that you are equipped with the knowledge, because as we said it before, and we'll say it again, knowledge is power. And once you're equipped with those answers and you have the knowledge, then you're able to take action.
And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
Sit in front of somebody like myself or in the industry of a good reputation. Mm-hmm. Ask all the questions you want because you're planning your future. Because you have to take those steps. It's up to you. It's up to me to make sure that my future is financially independent, financially secure. Once you get to that point where you're in retirement, there's no do-overs. You have one shot at making it right.
Thank you for that. And I want to reiterate and I want to share with the people out there listening. There are no dumb questions. So I say this because when I started speaking to Hector, I was like, I'm so sorry if this is a dumb question, but I don't know what this means, because he would speak in his lingo. And although I'm 38 and I should know all of this stuff, I'm barely learning myself and learning the importance. So that's why I'm bringing you guys on this journey with me, because if I am now seeing the importance of it, I want to share with you guys that, hey, you don't have to wait any longer. Like, you can start investing in your future now, and it's not as scary as it seems. And so when I was speaking to Hector and asking him these questions, at first I felt dumb, like I should know this, but I didn't let that keep me from not asking him, because that's the only way we're going to learn, and that's the only way we're going to get ahead. And at the end of the day, when you are sitting in front of someone who is in that financial services career or industry, that's what they're there for. So ask the questions that you think you should already know. Ask the questions so that you are equipped with the knowledge, because as we said it before, and we'll say it again, knowledge is power. And once you're equipped with those answers and you have the knowledge, then you're able to take action. And so I just want to reiterate that, because tell me not, Hector, when I asked you, like, I'm embarrassed, I don't know this, but can you explain a little bit more what this is and what's the difference? And, I was like, it was like financial literacy 101.
Yeah.
Because this is new to me, and this is new to me, and I've heard the words like here and there, but because this is now me investing in my future, like, this is me wanting to know and educate myself, like, I really had to, like, I can't just wing and assume what I know the answer. Like, I really want to ask him, what the heck does that mean?
It's really, I'm really glad you brought that up. There are no dumb questions.
Right.
And really, if you're sitting in front of someone like me, you should be able to ask all the questions you want. And what I do, like when I sit with my clients, like I said, there's no one size fits all. Everybody's goals and needs are different.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, someone like myself who does this full time, who's very knowledgeable, who works for a very reputable firm or a company. For me, on a typical week, if I'm not meeting with clients, I'm following up with potential clients. I'm also educating. I'm actually, very involved in my community. Wherever I can help educate people on this very important topic, I'm all over it. And I get that a lot. Oh, hey, I got a dumb question, or this might be dumb. No, it's not dumb. No, there's absolutely no dumb question. And I I love answering those questions, all questions, because it tells me the person in front of me really cares about planning, really cares about their family, really cares about their financial um, goals and their financial independence that they're trying to get at. So that's a good thing. I'm big on communication. Having a conversation about this very important topic is key. And you have to understand, like, for yourself, in your industry, I can't even pretend to know what you do on a daily basis, and what you have to do to make sure that you're on top of your industry or any other industry. If I go to a mechanic, I'm not going to go and say, hey, I think this is wrong with my car. This is what's going on. And I've been doing some research. I watched a video on YouTube, and I think I know how to fix it. I'm not going to pretend to do that. I'm going to a professional, an expert, who's going to get me, going in the right direction. So you just understand, someone who does this, what I do on a full-time basis. If I'm not talking to clients, I'm on calls, listening to industry experts, and with respect to the different topics within the financial industry, the insurance industry. So I'm constantly being educated, and I love it because, well, not only is it my duty to keep up with the industry, but I'm actually doing if I wasn't keeping up with the industry and constantly educating and learning more about this, then I'd be doing a disservice to my clients and potential clients. So that's key. And again, I'm the professional in this industry. I'm keeping up with what's going on, and I should be able to use that information to help my clients develop a plan of action to help them build a financially secure future.
Yeah, and I want to encourage everyone listening that you can and you should invest in your future, whatever that looks like for you. Everyone's different. So, Hector, thank you for joining me today. Time is one of the most precious gifts you can give someone. So, thank you for gifting me with your time today.
Absolutely, my pleasure. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. And for those listening, I want to say thank you. And if you like what you heard today, please comment and like this episode. Please share this episode with a friend or family member who you think might benefit. Thank you so much. And until next time, remember that winging it and winning is a mindset, and only you have the power to create your best life. Thank you and take care. Bye-bye.